What's your name? Do you play any sports?
Hi, my name is Aiden Burke, and I'm going to tell you a story today about my experience of being on the high school football team.
Tell me about your experience playing on the high school football team.
So, my experience was pretty tough initially. I remember playing in gym class from long ago. And so, initially, when I joined the team, I was pretty relaxed about it. But then a few weeks later, the high school coach had come up to me and he started to ask me some questions.
Wow, a high school coach? What happened?
He had a lot of various questions for me. A few examples are like how are deaf people supposed to be expected to play football if you can't hear all of these things like commands and the whistle. And a lot of his comments were pretty negative, and he wasn't very understanding about how I was going to be immersed in this experience.
So, did you get to play on the high school team? What happened?
Yeah, so he told me about a summer camp that he thought would be a good idea for me to join. And there were a lot of different things that I learned there: how to run, and different ways to work out. And there were a lot of different people there too. There were sophomores that I had never met before, and they were just these huge guys. Their arms were swollen, their legs were really thick, and I, in comparison, was just so intimidated by them, by their physical appearance. But I had the opportunity to make new friends, and one of them even knew some sign language because his mom is an interpreter.
How did that work with your helmet and your hearing aid? Did you leave it on when you played?
Yeah, so there was one time at practice. Sorry. There was one time at practice that there were some linemen, and one of them just smacked into me, right into my head, and so it knocked my hearing aid in a funny way that made this massive ringing noise, and it was kind of annoying sounding. But moving forward, everything worked out pretty smoothly.
Were there any other issues related to your deafness?
Yeah, so there was one other issue of being deaf on this team that made it a little tough. Sometimes it was really hard to hear the commands. And it was also kind of tough to hear the rival team whenever they would shout out.
What did you do after football season was over?
Yeah, so over the summertime, I did a lot of things to prepare for the next year, like working out and running, so that entering into sophomore year, I wouldn't be like the smaller freshman, especially at camp. we'd see them and we would laugh a lot. But I did actually become friends with some of those freshmen.
How did your sophomore season go?
Yeah, so my sophomore year was pretty nice, but it was a little bit more challenging, and there were a lot of other things that I faced that made the experience a little
Tell
bit more
me something
difficult.
you remember from one of your games.
So, during my sophomore year, there was one game where I was running, and I saw one of the other players on the other team. And the ref blew the whistle, and he was trying to call a penalty on me. But it was just a scrimmage, so there was no penalty necessary on that.
Thanks for sharing with me today. Good luck next season.